first we're going to have the mentors. I'm going to introduce you guys first, and then I want you to introduce your student, but then the students have to say a word. So we're going to start out with you, Diane. The Restoration Preservation Mentorship. It's what the RPM Foundation is all about. You're a teacher for 17 years? Must have started when you were 6. Okay. You've traveled the world on 2 and 4 wheels, and that's pretty cool. From the RPM Foundation, Diane Fitzgerald.
Thank you so much. Nice being here. RPM stands for Restoration, Preservation, and Mentorship, and we emphasize the mentorship piece of what we do. We're not a school. We are a network and a grant-giving organization that influences the educational pipeline for students interested in automotive and motorcycle restoration and preservation. We preserve heritage, but we have an eye on innovation. So when I say that Gracie Hackenberg, who is sitting in front of me, is an RPM student, that means that she did not attend our school. We don't have a school. But she participated in some of our programs that expose and engage the next generation. We typically deal with 17 to 25-year-olds, but we're also dealing with military and change of career folks as well. We expose them in programs, career development, and again through funding, helping with the high cost of education. Would you like me to introduce Gracie?
Please.
Oh, I also want to add, I taught for 17 years, but I started teaching in a bona fide teaching situation when I was 15. I ended up getting an MBA, and my husband and I started a motorcycle touring company based out of Milan. So we would take you on motorcycle vacations in Tuscany and Brazil and Mongolia and Morocco and most places outside of the United States. So, and we're collectors. We collect motorcycles and microcars because we like the adaptive use of small engines. So I come to this role not as an administrator of an educational program, but as a hobbyist and enthusiast. And I enthusiastically introduce Gracie Hackenberg to you, who is 24 years old, a mechanical engineer graduate of Smith College, who's a spec Miata racer and is an engine builder and is embracing the RPM program to help her network into her career. And now I'll let her tell you other important facts about herself.
Thanks, Diane. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me. And I'm excited to share with you all a little bit about the opportunities that I've had to build my career and some of the opportunities that I wish I had available to me or that I wish I knew about. And hopefully people like you are interested in facilitating. So thank you.
Okay, well, you met him earlier in the day, Clay Harshaw from Winston-Salem State University. Please introduce yourself again and also your student, Walter Thomas.
Clay again. At Winston-Salem State, we have probably one of the most unique programs around. We have a 4-year degree program, a full Bachelor of Science Motorsports Management standalone program. We'd say we're the only one that a public school. There are some schools that have the minor or have a concentration in motorsport management. And there's only one other school that I know that has the major, and that's Belmont Abbey College, just outside of Charlotte. The other thing, though, that makes us unique is we are what's called an HBCU. If you're not on the East Coast, you probably don't hear about HBCUs much. It's historically black colleges and universities. And that kind of made us a little unique. We kind of got started with about the same time as NASCAR diversity program got going. So that tells you a little bit about that. I've been a motorsport fan since I can remember. I grew up on the back shelf of I think it was a 58 Austin Healey Bug-Eye Sprite That was long before Ralph Nader and car seats or seat belts. My brother sat up in the front seat with my mom. I had to sit on the back shelf. My dad raced SCCA, Gymkhana, autocross, road rally. My mom did the same thing. My dad, in his 40s, got really annoyed with SCCA local in South Carolina. And I still remember the day of him storming back to the car during a road rally. And it's like, we're done. And we never went back. But about 2 years later, he shows up with motorcycles for all of us. And he started racing enduro motorcycles. So we do things the wrong way in my family. You're supposed to start on motorcycles and move to cars. I spent several years in what I like to refer to as governmental accounting, which means I was a tax collector for a while, and then jumped into Medicare. Hated sitting in a 6x6 cubicle and started teaching. And I've loved it ever since. That's been, I think I've been 20-some years now teaching. And just got the opportunity about 7, 8 years ago to come to Winston-Salem State, and it's been great. Walter is a senior. He contacted me when he was maybe a sophomore in high school and said, I'm coming there because this is what he wanted to do. He is from the Indianapolis area, and he is absolutely loving this 20-degree weather. He can't get enough of it. He said the reason he moved to Winston-Salem was to get away from this kind of weather. And of course, his first year there, we had the worst ice storm in December that we've ever had. So he brought that weather to us. He has raced stock cars, drag cars, and has worked in simulators quite a bit. I'll let you finish.
Well, as my professor, Dr. Harshaw, said, I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. I decided I wanted to be a part of the motorsports program at Winston-Salem State University around freshman, sophomore year. My father happened to find it online and thought it would be a really good idea for me to pursue this to help further my racing career because it focused more on the business aspect of the industry. So giving a little bit more background about me, once again, I'm 21. I've been around racing as long as I can remember. My father raced, grandfather raced, both drag racers, and somehow I ended up being a circle track guy myself. So that's always a big debate at the house, which one is considered real racing. So been racing since the age of 4. So I've been in a number of cars from quarter midgets, junior dragsters, late models, you name it. Went to Roy Hills Drag Racing School not too long ago and got my license to drag race. So hopefully I'll be doing that here soon. But yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Very good, thank you. And our final guest up on the stage, we're waiting for one more that might jump in here late flight, is Cindy Sisson. Did I pronounce that correct? Thank you. I'm jealous. Got to call the Peterson Automotive Museum your workplace. Boy, that's a lot of fun to show up there, almost as good as Doug Bowles getting to show up at Indy Motor Speedway. Tell folks about Tech Force Foundation, please.
Well, I'm so blessed to work here. Is this on? Sorry, Lori, I feel like you over there. I want to thank my client, Keel from Ticket Sockets, to allow us to be here, or Tech Force to be here. It's a blessing. I also want to thank Speed Sport News. 85 years, I remember Chris Economaki very, very well. And when I look at the magazine, I see a lot of win ads here for 85 years, but if you open the inside cover, this is what I do. Hendrick Motorsports ad for technicians. And what Tech Force is about, we've been around 15 years. We started as a foundation for graduates at UTI. And 5 years ago, we got a new CEO, Jennifer Maher, who explained to the board, if we don't look at this as an industry epidemic and just focus on UTI and not open it up to schools like McPherson or Winston-Salem and others, we are not going to be able to take advantage of the shortage of technicians. So where Diane's foundation is more focused on restoration, Tech Force is more focused on teaching mommies and daddies it's okay for your kid not to attend a 4-year college and be in debt and work at a Starbucks versus going to a post-secondary school and having a fantastic career. Labor statistics report just came out that you get into the tech field, you'll start at about $18.42. Well, the last time I checked in North Carolina, our minimum wage is $9.95. So that sounds like a pretty good deal for us. I just feel blessed to work here. I've had a 25-year career in motorsports. I started as the first marketing department for a small team called Roush Racing. That's why I moved to Mooresville. 25 years ago, I actually organized and rode one of 2 women in the Kyle Petty charity ride across America. David Height and others who have known me a long time know that I'm very passionate about this sport. First started being known as the Gatorade lady, so I worked with a lot of you short tracks, small tracks with the Gatorade Circle of Champions, and then after that I was the Ray-Ban lady, giving thousands and thousands of glasses away to NASCAR drivers. But home is here. I'm glad to be back. I haven't been here in a long time, and you guys are doing great work. And I think a lot of the presenters here today are looking about the future. We have to look about the future and looking at the digital divide and the millennials, and you guys are all doing some really great stuff. And the simulator guys back there are my new best friends. I'm taking it home with me. Serious, taking it home. Now I'm going to become a race car driver.
That is a beautiful sim unit. It's just incredible. All right, so Dan, people used to get their educations in racing the old-fashioned way. They'd, get on working at a short track or for a short track team or whatever, and they'd learn their way up through that. But they also had the benefit of high school shop classes and other things to teach them some of the basic skills so they could survive. Well, last time I looked, high school's not offering much in the way of shop classes at a lot of schools now, and it's just so technical now in what we do in racing that more formal training is needed. Can you speak a little bit to that, and then also how RPM kind of is helping work on that through their mentorship program?
So we are a staff. Oh, here. I think this is.
We died.
We're a staff.
Oh, there you go.
It's fading
That's
in
good.
and out. We're a very small staff. We're a not-for-profit. We don't want to spend a lot of money, keep our overhead down, but our small staff is passionate and smart and savvy. And every year we travel along with about 23 volunteer ambassadors that are situated around the United States. We travel about 90,000 miles to look for Gracie and Walter's classmates, and look for the places where they will work, and look for the places where they'll be educated or get experience to become better than an experienced entry-level worker. And we've got a very specific formula of how we go about doing that. But to the question and education, we've actually found, good news is we found probably 15 neighborhood high schools, the high schools that we all went to, that never got rid of their automotive shop classes, ever. So that was a little bit of a initial surprise about 5 years ago when I became the lead of RPM Foundation. Here's the other thing that we found that is incredible news. We've lost 2 generations of workers, so we are in a workforce crisis right now. And when the shop classes went away, and some of you may have felt the effects of that from your own high school experiences, but when the high school shop classes went away, that real estate, those shop square footages in the schools became computer labs or whatever other things. There were a lot of cultural shifts in the 70s and 80s that caused us to get there, and during the reception, I'll be happy to talk to you about that if you'd like over a glass of wine. But what became imminently clear was that in modern times today, as we started having the aha that we've got a workforce problem and how stupid were we to drink the Kool-Aid that the shop classes should go away, the reality is, because of our litigious society, because of the cost of equipment, because of the cost of that square footage, those shop classes at those schools were never going to get redeveloped into shop classes. But here's the good news. The good news is that there have been properties and collaborations forged between community entities and schools to repurpose properties into shops where the schools go to those facilities and fulfill their credits for their state, and in some cases get community college credit for having fulfilled an obligation in automotive restoration or automotive technology. And one example, I'm not sure if there's anyone here from Portland, Gracie's from Portland. There's a museum there, it's about 5 years old, called World of Speed. It was founded by David and Sally Bainey, who were vintage car racers. And they repurposed in their dealer alley in Wilsonville, Oregon, they bought and repurposed a dealership. And instead of, are you losing me?
No, we're good.
Instead of getting rid of their service department bays, they kept them and began forging, with state involvement, began forging relationships with 4 local high schools and 2 local community colleges. And they are having classes all day long, 5 days a week, and then have adult education classes in the evenings and on weekends. But it's a museum. It's a, you go in the front door, it's a museum. You go in the back door, there are 4 garage doors and bays. So the education, and that's one example, I could tell you 3 or 4 others, of communities that are repurposing properties for the sake of restoring this type of education. So the formal education is out there in some places. It's becoming more available. But like Tech Force Foundation, we endorse pathways to careers that make sense for people. And 4 years of college and incurring debt is not necessarily the right way for everybody. And Gracie decided to do 4 years of school, but we've got a very successful 19-year-old who started his own business in Scottsdale, Arizona, right out of high school, and a technical program in Mesa, Arizona. So there is education there. I will end by saying that, and happy to talk to you more about the details of that at the reception.
Very cool. Cindy?
Well, first of all, there's a group in here called the NHRA, and they have figured it out. I was so blessed to be at the Charlotte NHRA race. They had 4,400 kids out there, and it was rock star material. But 2 things that I want to make note of is we give about $2 million of scholarships away each year, 1% to girls, or women, if you will. Only 3% of the women are in the technical field. We represent 52% of the population. So we all have to do a much better job of identifying and celebrating these women in the industry. Number 1. Number 2, all of you that are in the racetrack business, do you do charity outreach? Do you do community service? My guess, if I were to cue you, you do charity for your local boys and girls clubs, or a local hospital, or a local blood drive, or cancer. Is that investing into the future of your racetrack? So you're going to hear me become very, very vocal with concours and car shows and racetracks, that you have got to start investing in the future. And we're here to partner with you. Our 2 charities are strategically aligned now, along with the LeMay Museum and America's Automotive Trust. We're the only foundations, to the best of our knowledge, in the nation that are investing in your future. And we hope you'll invest back so we can help support you.
Very cool. Clay, a little different question for you, slightly different.
I was going to say, I saw this, I think it was last week, there was something on, I want to say it's on LinkedIn, about, it was from USMA, about a program that's in North Carolina at some high school, where it's Davie County High School. Their STEM program and their automotive tech program are actually now starting to work together, and they're seeing that. that they can work together a little bit. And one of the comments they said was, not everybody learns the same. Not everybody learns in the same sandbox. And it used to be that I started my academia career at a 4-year liberal arts school, and the attitude there was, well, not everybody's cut out for college. And I tend to say, well, not everybody's cut out to be an auto tech. I mean, let's really get down to, what's important. Is it this philosophy professor, or is it the technician putting your brakes on your car? Which one's going to have the bigger impact on your life? If that brake technician doesn't do his or her job, they're going to have the biggest impact on your life with a literal impact. And I say I'm a horrible recruiter for 4-year schools. That's my job as a 4-year school. I tell folks, start at a community college if you need to. Start there. No need to go and spend 2 years of debt and everything for the same thing. Or, Walter, what do I always tell y'all to do as soon as you graduate?
Have something to do when we graduate?
Have a job, the J-O-B. That's one thing. I'm always telling them, as soon as you get out of here, get a job, and then get your CDL. Go to trade school, learn a trade. I've got a friend that works as an engineer. He never knows when his job's going to be shipped back to Europe. And he was telling me about a friend of his that's an engineer whose son did not want to go to college. He wanted to go and be a diesel tech and go to community college, get certified as a diesel mechanic in 2 years. And it's like having a hard time telling the son not to do that because he could come out of school making $70,000 a year and have no debt. And I was like, I'm starting to think that I should have gone into diesel mechanics. 2 years versus 9, 11, however many years I was in school. So I'm always telling students, get a trade that cannot be shipped overseas. Because in 50 years, they might not even need me. They might just need a camera and a computer, and a faculty member can cover 5,000 students. So I don't know how that's going to end up.
Great,
what kind of question?
great advice
what
indeed.
was the question?
Well, you actually answered it without me having to get to you. You did a great job. Walter, I'm going to pick on you now, young man.
Right.
How has working with Clay helped you feel a little more confident when you come on out of school here shortly that you will be ready for the real world of a JOB in motorsports industry?
Well, within the program in the last now 4 years I've been in it, we've been able to do a lot of job shadowing. We've also been able to do a lot of in-class work where we focus on certain aspects of motorsports, such as we have classes that deal with facility management. We have some to deal with sponsorship and building sponsorship packages for either teams, companies, or whatever the case may be for those. And some of the job shadowing opportunities that we have, we've done stuff with NHRA, for example, helping them break down stuff and actually getting hands-on experience with those guys and understanding what it takes to do certain race day operations. We also have been able to be do work with certain race teams at NHRA events as well as with our NASCAR events as well. So for me, it's helped out a lot just to see how everything works. As I've gotten older, I've had multiple positions at the racetrack, so just not from the standpoint of a driver, but also from a part-time official with NASCAR, creating sponsorship proposals for myself and others, as well as just, once again, being able to be a fly on the wall to see how everything works, so that I can also use those skills learned to apply to jobs that I've wanted to get coming out of school.
Where are you racing, and give us a little highlight of you on the track?
Well, I've actually had to put racing on the back burner because this big money hungry thing called school has definitely.
They fight for command of the money, don't they?
They have, especially being out of state tuition. It hurts. It hurts greatly. So, but I had great success behind the wheel. 3-time participant in the NASCAR Diversity Combine. It's where they actually choose drivers from all over the United States, Canada, and Mexico to come and compete for a spot on their team. I was able to actually be a part of their team once, and that was actually around the first time I actually went to see Winston-Salem State University. Currently, I am at home building or finishing up a project that me and my dad started. He had an old Super Gas / Super Pro Cavalier that I'm hoping to do some bracket racing with here in a couple years. It'll probably be at Raceway Park, more than likely.
Very cool. Gracie, tell us a little bit about how you've benefited from the RPM Foundation, and why you would advise other students in similar situations like yourself to get involved in this sort of a mentorship program.
Yeah, sure. So in high school, I discovered my passion for motorsports, but I didn't come from a racing family. So I really had no one to explain to me the career options that I had. So what I saw was engineering as the most viable opportunity for me to work in motorsports. So I got a scholarship and I went off to a 4-year college, which in hindsight, if I had known about some of the other career opportunities, I might not have chosen that path. But I got to college and I started working in a machine shop, and I discovered that working with my hands I was much better at, and I enjoyed it more. And so that's when I started to explore the other pathways, other opportunities in racing, and decided that I wanted to be a race mechanic instead of a race engineer. So I finished out my 4-year degree as an engineer, but that's when I linked up with the RPM Foundation, and they helped me get a job at one of the shops in their network, being a race mechanic. And so I was an intern during my senior year, and that turned into a full-time job opportunity after school. So I worked there for the last 2 years, and that really launched my career, gave me the experience that I needed to go on and get other jobs on other race teams. So.
And about your racing career, give us a little idea of what you race, where, what your favorite track is.
Yeah, so I've done all of my racing in the Northeast because I just moved to Portland, but I've been in Massachusetts for the last 7 years. I found my first race car as a crashed Miata in a junkyard, and I towed it home and started building it into a spec Miata. So I've been racing for the last 3 or 4 years, and I just did my first full rookie season as an SCCA racer. So I've raced at Lime Rock, Watkins Glen, Thompson. Yeah.
Very cool. Our last guest on the end here, and no, he wasn't late on purpose. It was all prearranged.
I was a late addition, and I already had my flight booked, so I literally got off the plane, came straight here.
Exactly, and he's going to be on our media panel. That's Alan Reinhardt from the NHRA. I'm so glad you could make it, because in addition to being one of the best announcers and commentators of getting the crowd excited. I love your interviews with the drivers.
You're just saying that because it's true.
You're also the professor of the NHRA's Nitro School. Tell us a little bit about that, and if you think that same philosophy might work in other sports of connecting with young fans by way of telling them more about what's going on behind the scenes.
I think it definitely would. If any of this has been covered, just somebody yell, "We covered that," and I'll quickly move on. But NHRA has had for 20 plus years now Youth and Education Services, what we call the YES program, where we bring high school students and automotive trade students out to the racetrack throughout the school year. I believe we do it at 16 of our 24 events when we're racing during the school year. I don't think we had less than 1,500 students at a time. We had 5,500 plus come to Pomona the last race of the season, and it is focused on job opportunities in racing. Obviously only so many people are going to drive, are going to have the ability, are going to have the talent to do that, but every driver needs mechanics, needs engineers, needs social media people. The way that the world is changing now, and our focus is on the jobs that are available there. Nitro School actually came about 4 years ago or 5 years ago now, when Peter Clifford, who was the president of the NHRA, came up with the idea that, we have a lot of fans that come out here and watch the Nitro cars, which for those of you that aren't familiar with NHRA, these things make 11,000 horsepower and go 0 to 300 miles an hour in less than 4 seconds. And the reality of it is that so many fans come out and watch, the smoke and thunder and awe, but really don't have any idea how they work. So could we put together a little something for our fans and just kind of explain it to them? And it's become a huge hit. We do it every stop on the tour. It is myself and either a driver or a crew chief that is obviously well-versed in how the cars work. The process is about 45 minutes or so long, and we cover the basics of how the cars make the power, how the cars manage the power, and the parts and pieces that make it all work. And it's a pretty fascinating thing, especially it never ceases to amaze me. Now, I'm a mechanic. I'm a heavy equipment mechanic by trade. I own a machine shop back in Arizona. But the number of people that are very familiar with the mechanics of how a race engine works, but have no idea what makes a nitro engine work, because they literally are so different. Yes, they all have valves and pistons and superchargers, but the fact of the matter is, gasoline, pound for pound, is 3 times more powerful than nitro. Google it. But nitro cars make power because they burn such a tremendous amount of fuel. A nitro car at full song in the middle of the racetrack is burning a gallon of fuel every 3/4 of a second. It takes 2 gallons of fuel to go 100 yards.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the things that we touch on in Nitro School. But I'm a big believer that the more the fans understand what they're seeing, the more involved they're going to be. And if that perks the curiosity of somebody to learn more and go in, and that that's a possible career opportunity here, I think that's great. And I don't know if it's been touched on or not, but I know that there are a lot of the racing sanctions and a lot of the governing bodies that are reaching out to the students and are trying to get them out to the track and trying to show them opportunities. And that's exactly what our YES program is all about. It has been focused pretty heavily the last couple of years on the need for technicians in the OEM. Ford Motor Company is one of our big partners. FCA is one of our big partners. The simple matter is that we're turning out 15 or 20,000 technicians a year, and we need 65,000 technicians a year. And that's a job that's never going to get shipped away, because when your car's broke, you ain't shipping it to Europe to get fixed. Somebody's got to be here right now that can make it happen, and that there's a lot of opportunity there. NHRA in 2020 is going to be debuting our new program that is known as the Launch Program, and it's still kind of in its infancy and things being put together. But it is focused on jobs available right now. If a student comes out to the racetrack, goes through our YES program, and has the aptitude, has a desire, and is looking at, okay, what can I do now? We want to be able to present them that here are opportunities at NHRA, or at a professional race team, or at a professional engine building shop, or somebody in the industry. And what's being put together right now is kind of the bank of this stuff. So if somebody comes in, and I mean, we don't think for a second that we're going to have 10,000 jobs available and everybody that shows up is going to be employed by the time they leave. But the focus of the program has always been, everybody talks about, hey, if a certified master technician can make $100,000 a year, that's a good one. Okay, it's not just I went to school, now somebody pay me $100,000. And we are partners with Samtech School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Universal Technical Institute is a big partner of ours with the YES program. And they talk about all the time, if they're going and looking for an intern to put, whether it's in NASCAR, whether it's in NHRA, they go to the school and go, tell me who your 5 best students are. I want to talk to them, not who, give me 5 out of the middle. And so that's part of the program that we pitch with the students is, effort equals results. And anybody that's ever raced knows that. If you leave your race car in the trailer and then just go haul it out again next Saturday, well, somebody else has been working on theirs every night, they're going to be faster than you. So it takes effort to make this happen. But that's the big push of our YES program, is that there are careers, there are jobs. And I just walked in on the second half of your presentation, but when you said CDL, it's like a light goes off in my head. I must have 100 people a weekend come up to me at the races and go, I want to do this. I want to be a crewman. It looks awesome. It looks great. What do I got to do? Do you have a CDL? I'll get one. Wrong answer. Because if I'm a team owner, you say, okay, I want a job. Do you have a CDL? I'll get one. What you just told me is I'm going to be learning how to drive a truck while I'm dragging your $1 million worth of stuff up and down the highway. Wrong answer. I don't care if you got your license yesterday. Do you have a CDL? Yes, sir, I do. And you automatically leapfrog everybody that doesn't have a CDL, because at least in my world, if you're going into an entry-level position, you want to get your feet onto a crew, you're going to be driving a truck. It might be a semi, might be a pickup, might be a support vehicle, but you're going to be driving a truck. And the CDL is golden. I hope I covered what you were asking for.
Very great. Good job. Okay, we're really pressed on time. I'm going to give you each one last quick comment, though. Starting out with you, Dan. Finish us off.
I wanted to acknowledge that the title of this session is called Developing New Markets Through Education, and it might actually be renamed Developing Renewed Markets, because what we're trying to do is to attract, to inform, to inspire, to engage, and expose. And so we're renewing what we grew up with that has been missing for 2 generations in the hope of helping the workforce crisis. I also want to let you know that what we do in automotive and motorcycle restoration and preservation is what I call a happy blend of low-tech and high-tech. And our innovations are to always have the students have business cards. That would be a modern technology item called a business card. And all of our kids related to RPM, whether they're 15 or 12 or 30, have business cards, including some of the folks who are here today. And the other thing is we write handwritten notes. And I think that that's pretty innovative as well. We're taking the deep heart approach, and we use our heads and our hearts in the things that we do. Thanks.
Fantastic. Cindy.
Yeah, I echo everything that Diane says. You said that so well, but for me, it's all about collaboration. So if you're a racetrack and you're looking to get kids to come to your track, it's not easy to call on the school districts. That's what we can do. Preferably with electronic digital tickets. It's really hard to give away paper tickets, as we know, or have seen with the NHRA when we did that event. There were 4,400 or maybe 5,000 tickets at Charlotte that each kid had to get. And if we can get it digitally to them, oh my gosh, what an amazing way to start communicating with your next generation. So we'd love to support you in that. We also have over 700 videos. We have a ton of print materials. We can gift them to you. All you have to do is call us. We can put your logo of your track in the back end and show that you care about the next generation in your community. We're here to support all of you and your next employers.
Clay.
One of the big things that we do in our program, Walter touched on it, is field experience. If y'all have a local college and need interns, contact the business program, the sport management, whoever. They have students looking for opportunities. I do see John Badilio over here with the NHRA YES program. John's been really supportive of our group. He set us up in March at spring break. It just happened to fall on the 50th anniversary of Gator Nationals. And John set us up with job shadowing at the Gator Nationals. And so instead of spending the time at the beach, we went to, I don't know, Smell of Life Nitro. It was fun.
Walter.
Which camera are we streaming from? I just want to say, Walter Lee Thomas III, Jarvis Canty, Taquan, all of us are looking for internships as we speak right now, preferably in the North Carolina area, but we are okay and available to move. We are qualified in different areas as far as running social media, as well as sponsorship proposals, and just about anything else.
And
So-
we're skipping you, Alan, because we'll hear from you in the next segment.
Fair enough.
And Gracie finishes off.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate how important early exposure and experiences are in motorsports, especially for people, for kids who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity. So for you all to be able to work with organizations like TechForce and RPM, it's really important for the next generation of racers.
What did we learn today? We learned that students need mentorship programs and internship opportunities more than ever before in today's world. And if you want to pay it forward, because you probably had a mentor that helped you or an internship that worked out to launch you to your career that you have now, pay it forward to the next generation. There's a shortage of mechanics and tradespeople and people with CDLs apparently. So don't be afraid to, in addition to a great college education, get that education in the trades as well. You can't have both go together quite well. And education about what goes on behind the scenes at a racetrack or a race series like NHRA has been doing for many, many years can actually build more interest from the grassroots level, the younger fans in racing, but also provide them a pathway to careers, not only in the sport, but in the trade. So big round of applause for our group here. You did a great job.